How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another domain format video. In this one, we're going to be talking a little bit about Phantom Nightmare, which is the latest set in the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG to come out as of the recording of this video. I know we're about to get another one soon, but Phantom Nightmare came out last month and was a pretty big deal set for the things that it supported, and I wanted to talk a little bit about like 9 or 10 cards that are actually suitable or could be experimented with in the Crystal Beast deck in Domain. So these are about like 10 cards that are the best for Crystal Beasts in Domain format. Now, the first card that we're going to cover is Ages of Stars and Frost. If a monster you control was destroyed by your spell effect or your opponent's card effect and was sent to the graveyard this turn, you can conduct your next battle phase twice. If a monster you control is shuffled into the deck or returned to the extra deck face down while this card is in your graveyard, you can add this card to your hand. You can only use this effect of this card once per turn. So while this does feel very like niche, I guess, the thing with Crystal Beast is that we are often destroying our own creatures with our own effects. Not to mention that we have the option to send them to the Spell and Trap or to the graveyard. Usually you want the more bricky Crystal Beasts in the graveyard and not muddling up your Spell and Trap card zone. So if this card, which is also a quick effect, which is very useful, is available, we're able to conduct our battle phase twice. In Domain, this could make or break winning a game, because that second battle phase could mean eliminating one player that you couldn't kill in one go, or being able to go after two players effectively if you're the one ahead and has a board state to attack with. While this isn't exactly like a mainstay card for the deck or anything like that, it is something to consider in Domain because of the application that it can very easily generate two battle phases for you, which is very powerful. Now, the other part of it is that it is recurable because of the second side of the card being able to bounce monsters, which is our mainstay form of removal in this deck. So your Rainbow Dragon, Overdrive, Rainbow Bridge, Crystal Conclave, all of these cards are means of bouncing your own cards. And if that triggers, you can recur this card, which is a good use of being able to generate that effect multiple times in a game to wrap it up or to just keep you aggressive to help win the game. I do think of the 9 or 10 cards on this list, this is probably the best one for this deck that came out of this set for Crystal Beasts. It doesn't mean that it is a mainstay for this deck. I think it is worth considering if you're looking to build a Crystal Beast in Domain format to look at this card and the applications it offers for how the deck works mechanically. Second on this list is Metamorphosis. This is sort of like a reference at Metamorphosis, which is a very powerful card. It gives you the ability to tribute a fusion or synchro monster to special summon one monster from your deck with the same level as the attributed monster's original level, but return it to the hand during the end phase. You can only activate one of this card per turn. I don't think this card is exactly the best fit for our deck, but it does have some applications. So you can tribute your fusion or synchro monster. We're not really doing synchro plays in this deck, but that first part does apply to us. We can fusion off or tribute off fusion or Overdragon or Overdrive, and this does search out Rainbow Dark Dragon out of the deck. This isn't the best application, but if you were, for whatever reason, really dedicated to trying to play Rainbow Dark Dragon, like getting it out of the deck, this is a means of doing so. Plus, it then goes back to hand, which is still playable. Otherwise, I'm not really sure how... The only other way would be if you did Ultimate Crystal Magic to get out Overdragon instead of using Rainbow Dragon itself. Then you could use Ultimate Crystal Magic to get out Overdragon and then have the means to Mutamorphosis and tutor out Rainbow Dragon from the deck. We have much easier ways of tutoring Rainbow Dragon in this deck, like as archetypal support, but I did notice that this card does have some applications, which is like very niche, but like you could do it, so I figured I'd add it to this list. The next card is Materialization. This is a quick play spell card that requires you to target one face-up monster card in any spell and trap card zone, and then activate one of these effects. You special summon it to the owner's field, you return it to the hand, or destroy it, then you can destroy one monster on the field with an equal or lower level. You can only activate this once per turn. I think this has some applications for this deck. It can apply to both people. However, you can do it to yourself. You can special summon the card. So, because it's a quick play, this allows for reactive plays of your Crystal Beast in the back row. This could special summon Carbuncle and then flood the back row up to the monster zones. This can get out a Pegasus in the back row, which then grabs another one and puts it onto the field. This grabs Rainbow Dragon, if you haven't banished it for its effect, Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon specifically, and puts it onto the field. This allows you to return them to hand if you need one to not take up a zone. This allows you to destroy it and then also remove a monster of equal or lower level. The point being that this is a very versatile card that I am considering adding to this deck, because the fact that, like, we have Ages of Stars and Frost, which is in theory a win condition. This is a means of doing what we do in the deck, but it actually applies a win condition to what we're doing. And then Materialization is a means of a versatile quick play response to the opponent, which is good for whatever application you're aiming for. I do think this card should be played in this deck. I think it has the means to be here, absolutely. This should be in a Crystal Beast deck. Flock Together, which is the fourth card on this list, is a funny one because my understanding of domain rules makes me believe that this works as I believe it does. So Flock Together is place one monster from your deck into your spell and trap card zone as a face-up continuous spell. Then you can banish this card from the graveyard to place a different monster from deck, or one monster from your deck, in your spell and trap card zone as a face-up continuous trap. That part doesn't really matter for Crystal Beast, but you can do it. Then, you can only use one Flock Together effect per turn, and only once that turn. The total number of cards in the monster zones and face-up monster cards in the spell and trap card zones must be 10 or more to activate either of this card's effects. This applies to both players. So normally this would be a 1v1 situation where you count the number of zones occupied between you and your one opponent. However, in Domain, there are 4 players, normally. Or more if you're doing like a 5-player pod. Which actually just happened today in the Discord and it was very funny. But, because of Domain, this would count all 4 players. Which does mean that this card is actually much easier to pull off than it looks. And it is a means of tutoring a card from deck into your spell and trap card zone, which is what this deck wants to do. So I think this does add a good application of additional tutoring, which... tutoring is a Magic term. I'm using it like I'm talking about Magic cards. Like, tutoring is when you search the deck. But it gives an additional avenue to search monsters out of your deck, which I think is worth considering. This 5th card is more of a, I think, generic card for the format, but I do have some comparisons of what it reminds me of from Magic, and why I feel like this card has a home. So, the Black Goat Laughs is a trap card. Declare one monster card name. This turn, neither player can special summon monsters with that original name except from the graveyard. You can banish this card from the graveyard, then declare one monster card name this turn. Neither player can activate the effects of monsters on the field with that original name. You can only use the effect of this card per turn, and only once that turn. This reminds me of a magic card called Pithing Needle. Pithing Needle is very similar in that you name a card, and then the effects of that card are turned off. This is reminiscent in that Pithing Needle for a very long time in Magic, not in recent times, but throughout history of Magic, was a mainstay in sideboards. Because Domain doesn't use a sideboard and more like your 60 card deck is the sideboard and main board kind of fused together, if you want to look at it that way of how your deck building is done, then this card is in a vein useful because of the fact that it could be used by board assessment of your other 3 opponents, or if you're working alongside one of your opponents to deal with a problem on the board. This card is a means to turn off a problem card, let alone the ability to summon a problem card. I do wonder, I'll have to rule check this, but I do wonder if that means that you could use this to turn off a Deckmaster, which is not, like, I don't necessarily condone that. People have done stuff like this to turn off commanders, for example, in Commander for Magic the Gathering. So it is similar to that. I don't necessarily condone that, but if it does work that way, it is an example of how this card could be played. This next one, this is number 6 on the list. This one is kind of in here just because it is weird, but it is doable in our deck. So this is Swallow's Calorie. It is a quick play spell card that you contribute a winged beast monster in your hand or face-up field to add a winged beast monster from your deck to your hand with the same level that the tributed monster had. You can only activate 1 Swallow's Calorie per turn. This card has some applications in Crystal Beast Domain, because you can use this to get rid of original Cobalt Eagle for advanced Cobalt Eagle, which is a strictly better card that could also be used to search out Advanced Dark, which is the preferred field spell for the Crystal Beast deck, because otherwise you can't play the Advanced Crystal Beasts, which is the additional 7 monsters that give better effects than the originals for the most part of the Crystal Beast cards. This is a means of tutoring out or searching out Cobalt Eagle, Advanced Cobalt Eagle. However, if you are in a build of Crystal Beasts that is using Sapphire Pegasus in the Deckmaster zone, you do have access to Wind, which could mean in your extra slots of the deck, you could be running a sub-engine of a Wind archetype. You could be running, like, Tri-Brigade monsters, for example, if they're Wind. I might actually be completely wrong about that, and I probably am. But you could be running a additional engine of a Winged Beast Wind variety, and therefore this card would have applications in those variants of the deck. Not saying it exists, because, like, I didn't build it, and I haven't seen it elsewhere in the format, but as more people join, and there have been people interested in this deck, I wanted to, like, be a voice to show what people could do with it in other applications that isn't just a pure build or a hero build. There is other avenues you can go in to get really weird, because Crystal Beast in advanced format and regular constructed format is popularly used with sub-engines of all kinds of different things to make the deck do weird stuff. Like Kashtira or Tri-Brigade, or, I mean, even like, well, Emerald Tortoise was used in Tier Elements because it could search the field spell, but, like, as an example, this engine can be slotted with other stuff and constructed, so in theory you could do that in Domain as long as it translates to your domain. These last cards are kind of in the direction of a build you could do if you were inspired by the anime to do a, like, Dark Jesse variant. You could try to go for a dark deck with, like, Rainbow Dark Dragon as the Deckmaster, and therefore you have access to the Crystal Beast archetype because of Rainbow Dark Dragon. You have access to Dark, which gives you access to Yubel. These other cards are more in the vein of if you tried to do like a Yubel Crystal Beast variant, which I may mess with in the future. I haven't made a build for it yet, because I have a Yubel deck made, and I have a Crystal Beast deck. I haven't fused them, and I kind of want to mess with that and see what I can do with it. But before those 3 cards, I wanted to talk about Ultimate Offering. If you are trying to build a deck that is a little bit lower power, as in you're not trying to use Ultimate Offering or extremely powerful cards that are banned, like if your play group is using lower power cards, this is a alternate option to Ultimate Offering that allows you to kind of flood out the Crystal Beast from your hand. So during your main phase, you can pay 1,000 life points and conduct up to 3 normal summoner sets, not just 1. And then during your opponent's battle phase, you can pay 500 life points to immediately after the effect resolves, normal summon a monster. This could be used against the opponent to disrupt the board a little bit, play a card, normal summon like Pegasus into, like, to get more cards out. I will say, if I'd have to read regular Ultimate Offering, okay. During your main phase or your opponent's battle phase, you can pay 500 life points. Immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon 1 set monster. Yeah, so the difference is you pay 1,000 and you get 3 normal sets during your turn. Or you can pay 500 during your opponent's turn, which is exactly like Ultimate Offering, in order to summon on the opponent's turn. I do think this card actually has, like, either one of them, depending on what kind of power you're going for. I think either of these have a home. For the ability to, spam out Pegasus during the opponent's turns is really good at just getting your deck thinned out of other monsters that you're not trying to draw. Because in Crystal Beast, you're not really trying to draw the monsters themselves. You're trying to draw the spell and traps that give you access to them without having to draw them. Because essentially, a lot of the Crystal Beasts are bricks. There's a few of them that aren't, and a lot of the advanced versions are not bricks. But you do want the original ones to be, like, searched out or sent to the graveyard and not cluttering up your hand or cluttering up your field. So a card like this, I'm not running it currently, but I might start experimenting with Ultimate Offering or Ultimate Offering in Crystal Beast as a avenue to spam summon more, but also get out cards like my Deckmaster during the opponent's turn to prolong my plays. But we'll have to see. Now, for the last 3 cards, as I mentioned for this list, it is about if you were trying to do a Dark Jesse Yubel variant. So, obviously, the first card from this set is Three-Eyed Ghost, which you could send it from your field to the graveyard to add 1 level 10 Dark Monster from your deck to your hand. You would obviously be using this to get Yubel. She's a level 10 Dark Monster. You either get her, you get Spirit of Yubel, you get whatever card you're looking for. Usually it would be Spirit of Yubel, because that's like the card that actually gets played. And then this is an extra means of getting that card out that in theory would be used if you were doing like a dark pile with the Crystal Beasts, as well as like Rainbow Dark Dragon in your Deckmaster zone. Then Mystic Potato. This is a Mystic Tomato retrain. New card. If this card on the field is destroyed by card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a dark monster with 1,500 or less attack from your deck in attack position, except Mystic Potato. It's not the best, but this is a means of recruiting. It's not Mystic Tomato. It's a little worse, but it's still doable. This could be applied to that like Dark Pile, Rainbow Dark Dragon, Yubel variant. And then lastly, there is Spirit of Yubel. It cannot be destroyed by battle. Also, you take no damage from battles involving this card. If this card is destroyed, you can special summon one of your Yubel that are banished or in your hand, deck, or graveyard. You can only use each of the following effects of this card once per turn. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is special summoned, you can add to your hand or set one spell or trap from your deck that mentions Yubel. This would give you access to it's sort of a hand trap. Like, you kind of are reacting to the opponent, you play it, you search out your cards. This would be the ability to search out Eternal Favorite or Maturity Chronicle, Nightmare Pain, any of the new cards that support the Yubel archetype. You would be able to get them. And that's in the direction of if you're doing a Crystal Beast variant that is Rainbow Dark as the deck master, which gives you access to Dark, so you have access to the Yubel package, as well as all the Crystal Beast monsters, which are Ultimate Crystal and Crystal variant cards. So that is about the 9 or 10, like, quote-unquote best cards from Phantom Nightmare that support the Crystal Beast deck. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully it was helpful if you're looking to do a alternate variant to the deck in the domain format. If you are interested in getting involved in the domain format, we have a Discord server that recently has gotten over like 900 people. It's been popping off. There's games in there, remote through webcam or through Untap and Simulator daily at this point. Multiple games daily. There is other content creators that are going to be getting involved in it as well, like putting out videos for the format and stuff. So if you want to get involved, jump in that Discord, join us. We're in there daily, memeing and playing and having a good time, and it would be great if you would join us. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.